What state could the USA lose with the least consequences to the country? According to the B. Vermont contributes the lowest percentage of our nominal GDP at 0.16 in 2022, or around $40.60 billion. California, the largest contributor, produced around $3.6 trillion for our economy, or about 14.7. Interestingly, the top 8 states contributed just over half of all the U.S.'s nominal GDP in 2022, and the top 17 states added 75% of our nominal GDP in that same fiscal year. I just sat down and tried naming all 50 states and came to 49. Tried again. The same. Realized both times I forgot Delaware. Rhode Island. They don't have much agriculture, few major businesses, and they're a small enough state that it would cause the least economic hardship for the rest of us. Delaware. I mean, where even is it? Rhode Island. As someone who lives in Alaska, I am relieved to see Alaska not listed in the top few comments. Unless Weil just forgot about us. Some landlocked state with the least economic value. Why do we even have 2 Dakotas? I think most of Vermont would be fine with going to Canada. Texas wants to do its own thing anyway. New Mexico is really the same age as Mexico. Why bother naming it different? Alaska and Hawaii aren't even connected to the rest of the states. The state of entitlement. Ohio. There was an article from years ago debating that if the USA was going to be run like a business as some politicians and voters wanted, then we should all agree to sell off Kentucky. Delaware. It's basically just a tax haven for the rich. It's the Bahamas with worse weather. There is hardly anyone who lives there and no important resources. You don't even need to drive through it to get anywhere. There would be no detours required. Hawaii, since we can't drive there. Mississippi. Or whatever the fuck it is. I vote Minnesota. The lovers' tension between Minnesota and Canada is just unbearable at this point. Let's just let them be together. Probably Maine tbh. I mean, it's good for tourism, but there's not much else there. Except potatoes, and we get those from Idaho too. Close enough to the Canada border that we could probably sell to them. I say this as someone who loves Maine too. Loves. I'm from Massachusetts and it's one of my favorite places to go. Edit: the first time I wrote the Maine border instead of the Canadian border. Lemfow rolling on the floor laughing. Guess I'm more fucking tired than I thought. Vermont. They're basically Canadian already, and it's a minimum-sized piece of property. Easily Mississippi. Delaware. You'd have to squint to see the difference on a map. I'm going to guess Rhode Island. Mississippi. Hawaii. Give it back. It's a lovely tourist destination but deserves to self-govern. It's a shameful part of our history that we should fix. Cali. I mean, it would fuck your shit up. But you're bound and determined to get to hell sooner or later. Let us hop out of this handbasket instead of fighting to slow it down. We'll let Oregon and Washington come with us. Maybe Nevada, too, if we're feeling generous. And they return the A's and the Raiders. Oklahoma. One of the Dakotas. Delaware. We could lose Canada and no one would notice. Delaware. Rhode Island if you wanna get political. Cali to get rid of leftist hell. Rhode Island. No one gives a F about Rhode Island. Ohio skull 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 only in Ohio haha funny please laugh goddammit. Nebraska. Cause I scrolled through 90 of the thread without seeing Nebraska. Cause nobody even remembers that Nebraska is actually a thing. Where or what even is Nebraska anyway? Losing Florida seems like it would be a big improvement, right? Wait until the snowbirds go there. And close the border for maximum effect. If you say Texas, fuck you. Wyoming. Rhode Island. Honestly, if you negotiated a railroad through it in the north. Idaho. At least. I wish this were true. Damn Idaho. Over there like some honorary southern state. Dragging down the stats of the PNW all batshit crazy and weird. They're already like another country. Going the totally opposite direction compared to their neighbors in evolution. The obvious answer is Hawaii. Resource poor. In the middle of the ocean. Difficult to defend as not part of the contiguous states. I pick Texas. They would like to leave anyway. So it would be a win-win. Hawaii. Florida. California. Does anybody really remember Wyoming? Oregon. The interstate highway driving intelligent quotient would instantly increase by a factor of 11. Florida. Swampy. Run by cranky people as far as I can tell. New Hampshire. PA. It doesn't have that big of a population and its biggest tourist attraction is Silent Hill. VT Court NH Re. Nobody really knows the difference anyway. Pick one. Kansas. No real scenery. You can just drive around it. By Kansas City. New Jersey. From a political standpoint, the state that the U.S. could lose with the least consequences would likely be Wyoming. While it does have a small population and is not a major economic powerhouse, every state contributes in some way to the country. It's important to remember that each state has its own unique identity and culture. And losing any state would still be a significant loss. New Mexico. It's in the name. Wyoming. It may not even exist. Florida. Florida. Cali. They're a literal dumpster fire. California. California. Kansas. Totally flat boring scenery unless you like wheatgrass or corn and not a lot to do. Vermont. West Virginia. California. Illinois. High welfare rolls. High crime. Draconian CCW laws. The most crooked state government in the USA. West Goddamn Virginia. Indiana. Either one of the Dakotas. None. Every state is just as important as the next. Texas. Texas, Florida. New York. Puerto Rico because I forget it's part of our country sometime lol sorry. California or Florida. What is Arkansas even useful for? My grandpa was actually talking about moving to Arkansas once he didn't though and my mom and I laughed about it when we got home. Trade Puerto Rico and Guam for Kentucky. Wisconsin. Ignore the fact that I grew up in northern Illinois. Either Dakota. It should be one state. They have 2 extra senators for no reason. None. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Florida. California. California.